CBSN political contributor Leslie Sanchez. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Bob, you are a three-time moderator of these debates. I want to dive right into what people have been talking about the last couple of weeks, which is the role of a moderator. Should the moderator be able to fact-check the candidates, or should the candidates themselves fact-check each other?
Sure. And the answer to both questions is yes. But that, I mean, I think that it is unfair to both of the candidates not to give them the first chance to fact check. I mean, if you say something and she's the other person and she doesn't get a chance to go at you and correct you, then I think the moderator has to step in and set the record straight. But you have to kind of play it by ear, and I think Lester Holt will do a good job. He's a veteran journalist. He obviously has done his homework before coming into something like this. But what the American people are turning in for tonight is not to find out how much the moderator knows. They want to find out how much these candidates know. And you want to give them as complete and as full a picture of these two people as you possibly can. That is the role of the moderator.
Leslie, I'm wondering what the wild card is tonight. You know, we know these candidates if you've been following them, but is there some sort of wild card factor that could play in tonight?
The moderator, undoubtedly. Well, what's interesting is what a tactic that was used previously in the previous debates was to blame the moderator, more done by Senator Ted Cruz. It's put the attention somewhere else rather than taking and answering the question, quite honestly. But I don't think they're going to have the ability to do that or navigate around that. And it's really, the reason it's so intriguing, it's the first time to see the two of them on stage. And if you ask a lot of the red states, the flyover states, so to speak, they really wanted to see somebody who could take the challenges and the frustrations they have directly to the establishment, meaning Republican and Democrat, and they think Donald Trump can do that. So that's part of the lure of tonight's debate.
What I was going to say is I think the hardest thing for the moderators is not going to be the fact-checking. It's keeping them quiet.
Right.
I mean, making sure one of them or the other doesn't hog the time period. I don't think there's going to be any problem about either one of these candidates being reticent about speaking up.
Except when it comes, so the question, and people will hear a helicopter flying above us, and we apologize for that noise. Bob, the question that a lot of people are having right now is, so the rules that applied in all the previous presidential debates may not apply in this one, because both the New York Times, the Washington Post, and other news organizations have said that in Donald Trump, you have a candidate who has in many, many instances outright fabricated positions, numbers, statistics, and that sort of changes the equation. Do you see it that way?
Well, I mean, the polling shows that the American people, a majority of them, don't trust either one of these candidates, don't consider them honest. I mean, we've never had something like that before. I mean, the polls also show that a majority of Americans don't like either one. So, yes, trustworthiness, that's going to be a part of what people are tuning in to find out tonight. Which one of them can I trust the most? And look, this is going to be a hard job. I remember when I moderated the first one in 2004, and people don't believe me when I say I don't really get nervous on television, but I don't. I mean, I've been doing it so long, it's like an old ball player who forgets the crowds back there, you know, and he's so zoned in on what he's doing. But I was standing backstage in 2004, and I looked down, and I was shaking like a leaf. It is the first time I've had stage fright, I bet, in 25 years. And, you know, how can you not? You're thinking about all of those people out there. You're thinking the presidency may hang on this particular debate. And so, you know, of course you're going to be a little nervous. I mean, you know, when the thing started, I walked out, the red light came on, and everything was fine. But this is unlike any assignment that any journalist gets. I mean, we've all had our big one-on-one interviews, but, you know, the other part of it is these are two, for very different reasons, two of the most difficult people in American politics to interview.
Right.
One, you can't shut up. The other one is very reticent about, you know, getting off the talking points. So Lester Holt, bless his heart, he's got his work cut out for him tonight.
You talk about nerves, Bob, but, you know, I'm also wondering who is flying that plane up there. It's got to be U.S. Secret Service, possibly, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. It might be somebody from the other network that's on here, and they want to make sure nobody can hear us.
I want to ask you, Bob, you know, nerves play into it for candidates as well. If somebody totally bombs tonight, all can't certainly be lost. Obama had a bad debate night, and he still pulled it through.
Sure. Number one, I don't think either one of them is going to bomb, but that is absolutely possible. And again, it goes back, these are more than just getting these two people to define their place and where they stand on every particular issue. The American people want to get a measure of these two people. The vote for president is different than any vote we cast in the sense of, I think in the end, issues count, party counts, but it is, are they comfortable? Are the American people comfortable with either one of these people in a time of crisis? And the one they decide they're most comfortable with, I think will probably win the election. I think that's what sets the presidential vote apart and makes it different than any other vote we cast.
That's why it's so fascinating to see the impact of Kellyanne Conway and basically not turning.
It's been a market turnaround from the moment that she took.
Just stopping the tweeting has been, and then there were still some gaps, but not the severity, because it became this unstable campaign that no one could get behind.
Except, Leslie, that's what makes tonight so fascinating, because this is going to be Trump without a teleprompter. He's going to have to give specifics. In the primary season, when he was running against, he had 15 or 16 people up on the stage. Not a lot of time to get into specifics. People like that brash demeanor, that poking fun at Jeb Bush, you're low energy. But here, when a moderator says, so you've said that you know more about how to defeat ISIS than the generals do. Tell us how.
Right.
Will he be able to do that?
Well, he's walked away from some of these statements. The strategic thing that's interesting, some of the biggest gotcha moments, I think he's diffused those. He said, okay, I'm going to rely on generals. He's kind of walked back. So what is authentic to Donald Trump is he overstates and then he walks it back. And that's why I think the measure of how they judge the two is different. He's someone that doesn't have to have the details. It does remind me of the Al Gore, George Bush phenomenon, where Al Gore was very lecturing and condescending. She falls into that same kind of narrative and stereotype versus somebody who wasn't as smart enough. And again, does it matter who wins the debate? He's not going to win on points and substance, but can he win on style and measure?
You're right about that Gore-Bush debate. Al Gore was criticized by even Democrats for his eye rolling and his sighing. And in that last debate where he walked into President Bush's, then candidate Bush's space and sort of tried to intimidate him, and people said, what a jerk.
Well, I mean, think back to Michael Dukakis in 1988, where, this question just comes totally out of the
Bernard Shaw question.
Bernie Shaw's question, and he said, they'd been talking about the death penalty and all that kind of thing, and he said, well, how would you feel if your wife were raped? I think anyone would say, I'd kill the guy.
Right. But he gave a very long, academic
kind of answer. And people said, well, what's
this
that
guy's
about?
Out of touch.
It wasn't what he said.
Right.
Everything he said was probably right. We're a nation of laws. And of course, we have to abide by the law. That's why we have the law, so we don't act on our emotions. But people just came away from that just totally puzzled about how someone could be so unemotional in discussing their wife's safety. So it's not always about the issues. That's the bottom line here. It's about composure. It's about attitude. And again, is this someone that I could trust with the awesome responsibilities of the office of the president?
And Bob raises a very important point, because there was a lot of, in terms of emotion, Donald Trump exhibited that. He did the eye rolling, the sighs, the red face. He actually got red on occasion and perspired, and he really did react to some of the banter that was going back and forth. And with Al Gore, there was a lot of that alpha male kind of like, who's going to be stronger? I'm going to be a strong commander-in-chief. The first female president, potential first female president, cannot go on that card necessarily. She has to look strong and firm and committed, but there are other challenges. So, and as you've seen, it becomes a challenge for the people that she debates.
We also got a new word in the lexicon, a lockbox. A lockbox. I'll never forget that. I think probably SNL made me think of it more than Senator Gore, but all right. Thank you guys so much. That was great. Appreciate it.
Really fun to be here.
Bob Schieffer, Leslie Sanchez, always so good to have you.